Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. It all comes down to Game 7.
Just to make it to this point, Game 7 of Round 2 against a Western rival, I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more.
Canucks fans are confident their team can knock the Oilers out of the playoffs and move one step closer to Lord Stanley. Plus, all eyes on returning home.
As soon as we get the go-ahead, we'll start moving people.
Thousands of evacuees wait for the all-clear to go back to Fort Nelson, while a handful are told their homes are destroyed. Also, 3 years later,
we have to find a way to say enough is enough for them, because this is not cool what they're doing to all of us.
We check in with those still living at Vancouver's Crab Park encampment to find out what's changed and what still hasn't.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Tanya Fletcher, and thanks for joining us on this holiday Monday. Well, if they wanted to ratchet up the playoff tension, the Vancouver Canucks have certainly done that. It's all come down to Game 7 in their second round series against the Edmonton Oilers. The winner moves on game is back on home ice at Rogers Arena. That's where we find our Dan Burrett, who joins us live now just as the puck is about to drop. And Dan, a few nerves perhaps where you are.
Slightly, but a lot of excitement and a lot of nostalgia and Canadian pride. Full Canadian tuxedo, 3 pieces, you can see, Tanya, for a full Canadian Game 7, Round 2 Stanley Cup playoff series. Edmonton and Vancouver, it has been a back-and-forth battle. As we know, and as you mentioned, bit of nerves. Vancouver got blown out on Saturday, 5-1. And today we confirmed that Brock Boeser, that great goal scorer, is not playing tonight. But already, out in the crowd here, we've seen the signs. Win it for Boeser, win it for Demko. Fans we spoke with earlier are feeling quite confident. Have a listen.
I think they would have done better to win last week, the last game, but certainly do or die tonight. So,
what are your predictions? Do you think they can do it?
Canucks will do it, yeah.
Well, we've exceeded expectations this season, and just to make it to this point, Game 7 of Round 2 against a Western rival, I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more. I think we're all pretty excited, and no matter what happens tonight, I think we can all be proud.
Yes.
Can I ask how much you paid?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, well, I don't know. It was a present.
I can't. For both of them, it wasn't as bad. It was $1,500. Yeah.
We'll keep that between you and I.
And Dan, we just heard their $1,500 for a pair of tickets. What have they been going for today?
Well, we spoke with longtime ticket broker Kingsley Bailey earlier today. He said just to get into the door here at Rogers Arena, if you want something in the balcony or at the end, the quote, cheaper seats, you're looking at least $400. And that was when we checked with them earlier this afternoon. If you want to get down to the lower bowl, maybe some club seats, you're looking at $1,100 each. It is not cheap. Keeping in mind, he thinks that fans really do want to go here, as this is the first time since 2011 that the Vancouver Canucks are trying to get into the Western Conference Finals. Have a listen.
Fans really want to see this. They still think that they can witness history, and I'd love to hope so and think so, but it's an uphill battle for the team. But they can do it.
And Tanya, as you know, there's impartiality in this reporter, but back to you.
Go Canucks, go indeed. Thank you so much. That's our Dan Burrett live outside Rogers Arena, where Game 7 is just getting underway. Let's head up to the Sea to Sky now, where a serious crash this afternoon has sent 2 people to the hospital and shut down the highway. BC Emergency Health Services says they were called to the scene north of Squamish just before 3 p.m. One of the victims was taken to the hospital by air ambulance, the other by ground. Major delays are being reported on the highway in both directions. It is still closed and no word yet on when it'll reopen. It has been 3 years since Crab Park was taken over by tents and turned into an encampment. To this day, it serves as a visible sign of the province's ongoing homelessness crisis. Our Liam Britton stopped by the park today to hear about what's changed and what has yet to be done.
Okay, thank you. For many, barbecues this long weekend might mark the unofficial start of summer. But here at Crab Park, the scene is to recognize an anniversary, one some say is an unlikely one.
It's really kind of momentous because there are not very many camps that have lasted this long. Usually an encampment is swept or evicted within a year or less, and so it just really is a testimony to resilience and survival for people staying here in this camp.
People here are marking 3 years of the homeless encampment. At one point, more than 100 tents were pitched here. Now just 13, with 15 to 20 people living in them. Clint Randon has been here from the beginning.
It's a really beautiful park, and it's a really, I find it a really comfortable place to be. That's just my personal opinion, right? Like it's just a happy place for me.
With music, a clothing swap, and food, residents and supporters mark what they call the endurance of a community. Now, the people close to this encampment say it has been an eventful 3 years with ups and downs, fights here in the park and in the courts. In the first months of the pandemic, the courts shut down a previous encampment at Crab Park. But the next year, another tent city rose up. Vancouver's park board tried to shut it down, but the courts ruled there weren't enough indoor spaces for those people to go to and said it could stay. Residents have since filed a human rights complaint against the city and the park board, saying they are being discriminatory by not providing electricity, sanitation, and washrooms. Over the last 2 months, a cleanup removed tons of debris and material. The city said garbage, propane tanks, rats, needles, and feces had piled up. But residents say their possessions are being cleared out too. And after 3 years, camper Patrick Peters says that has to stop.
We have to find a way to say enough is enough for them, because this is not cool what they're doing to all of us.
The city says park rangers only remove items that break bylaws. But at the barbecue, people close to the camp say they want more to be done to make the camp more livable when more stable housing just isn't there. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
RCMP have released an updated sketch of a triple homicide suspect. He's from Kitimat and has been on the run for more than 2 decades. This is what police believe Kevin Lewis Vermette looks like now. He's accused of murdering 3 young men in the summer of 1997. Vermette is now 70 years old, and police believe he is still alive, but say his appearance has changed drastically in the last 27 years. Anyone with information is asked to contact Kitimat RCMP. Evacuees of the Parker Lake wildfire are still waiting for word on when they can return to Fort Nelson. Officials say 4 homes in total were destroyed and 6 more damaged. The town's mayor delivered that news to those who lost their homes.
They had known from Facebook and from others, from friends who were on the fire service, that they had significant damage to their properties. So they were a little bit understanding, but when they hear it officially from the mayor, it changes their emotions. Yeah, very difficult conversations.
Although weather conditions have improved, the fire still poses a threat to the community. The mayor says officials are working on plans to bring people back in once it is safe. It has been 10 days now since those residents of Fort Nelson were given the order to leave. And when they did, many took their animals with them. Our Julie Landry shows us how pet owners have been coping.
One of the biggest challenges for the evacuees has been dealing with their pets. I was told everybody has a pet in Fort Nelson. Here in Pink Mountain, the first community south of Fort Nelson, the Buffalo Inn welcomed people with dogs, cats, ferrets, even parrots. And the importance for the evacuees and the managing team is to reduce the stress to a minimum in these difficult times.
The last thing I want them to do is be stressing here. They're already stressing about what they might have lost, what might have been stolen, what might have been burnt. I mean, there's all kinds of ways these people could have lost things at home.
Yeah, it's stressful for me, but I can't show it to her because she feels it from me. So I have to stay calm for her.
In Fort St. John, some of the evacuees have had trouble paying for their pet food. That's why a pet food and toy drive has been organized, all community driven, and you'll see pet owners were really grateful. I met a man who came by with a husky and 5 puppies. He has been evacuated with his 6 children, 5 big dogs and 5 puppies, and he's in a caravan. He told me everything has been really overwhelming for him, and this little break really makes him happy.
This is a tremendous help. We have 6 children as well, so we're overwhelmed at the moment.
So dealing with the animals in small spaces like hotel rooms seems to be getting more and more difficult as days go by, and it does seem to fuel evacuees' impatience to go back home. For CBC News, I'm Julie Landry in Pink Mountain, BC.
And with that, let's bring in our Darius Madavian. Darius, looks like a bit of a weather reprieve lately up in the north, but that might not last long.
No, we've got a couple more days of it, but not for too long. Here we're looking at a couple of the most important fires burning in the province, really the only ones that can be detected by satellite. If we zoom out to the rest of the province, you'll see not much activity for the rest of BC. It's really just up in the northeast that we're worried about, and that's where we're starting to see the fire danger climb again. Tomorrow we might get a little bit of precipitation in that region, maybe continuing into early morning Wednesday, so that might bring, again, a little bit of reprieve, especially as temperatures also drop tomorrow. But if we do take a look at our temperatures, even as we dry out into Wednesday and probably the rest of the week, although small chance of some rain late this week, we're going to see those temperatures fall tomorrow, but then quickly start to rebound Wednesday and climb back into the mid-20s by the end of this week. So Tanya, a bit of a reprieve now, but we're going to be keeping on the situation throughout the rest of this week.
You bet. We'll chat with you again at the end of the show. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
Our province is already in the thick of battling this season's blazes, but the scope of wildfire anticipation stretches right across the country. Our Juanita Taylor gives us a helicopter view of Canada's boreal forests and the large-scale exercise now to keep forests fire smart.
There's no shortage of spruce trees around here. Spruce trees can burn really well.
Deep in the boreal forest outside Yukon's capital, the race is on to build a massive permanent fuel break, among the first in Canada. This area just south of the city of Whitehorse is being forever changed. Old spruce and pine trees are being cleared to create a massive corridor called a fuel break.
It's kind of the balance, eh? Like, I understand people hate to see that kind of clear cutting.
It's a big change for sure. I would argue it's necessary in this context.
But can you really wildfire-proof an entire city? I'm about to find out. Most Yukoners live here in Whitehorse, known as the Wilderness City. About 36,000 people. And just outside the city stands the biggest threat of wildfire: spruce and pine trees. The Yukon government is trying to do something about it.
So where are we heading to?
So we're gonna head south on the Copper Hall Road, down to the Mary Lake area.
I took a drive with experts on this project, Luke Bebo and Jennifer Sharp.
It's pretty much exclusively pine and spruce around here.
The fuel break follows an old mining road.
This is a huge clearing of trees right here.
If a fire were to burn in this area towards Whitehorse, how realistic is that probability?
I think it's an inevitability, to be honest with you.
Yukon's government plans to spend $11 million to build the fuel break. When finished, it will stretch 20 kilometers long and up to 2 kilometers wide, thinning some areas, clear-cutting others, and replanting them with slower-burning trees. Its location is strategic.
Most of the time, the wind comes out of the south, out of the Carcross Valley and the Marsh Lake area in the summertime. It's like 80% of the time.
Blowing right towards Whitehorse.
There hasn't been a fire in this area since somewhere around like 1908.
So it's almost time for it to happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
The big worry is a catastrophic fire like this. An assessment done a few years ago found that a Fort McMurray-type fire could hit Whitehorse and likely will. Lightning strikes have also increased with the changing climate. Not wasting any time, the Yukon government started building the fuel break in 2020. Nearly 400 hectares of trees have been cleared and sent for salvaging.
So Luke, there is just so much fuel to burn here. Like, there's just so many trees.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how dense it gets to be, right? So this is exactly what it looked like before we went in. It's a big change for sure. I would argue it's necessary in this context.
In another part of the city is where I meet up with Gary Bailey.
So we're actually an urban First Nation, which is kind of a unique situation.
A member of the Kwalindun First Nation.
My lifestyle and the way I live my life is about the land. Everything I do is connected, so it means everything to me.
Bailey says his First Nation was involved in the planning process to build the fuel break.
It's kind of the balance, eh? Like, I understand people hate to see that kind of clear cutting and stuff like that, but what would really impact everybody directly is if a fire came through and wiped everything out. Then not only is the forest gone, but so are the animals, and so are the berries, and so are all the plants, things that sustain us are gone too, right? There's a lot at stake.
Another thing that's really...
Officials say they are anticipating a normal fire season, but last year there was a record-breaking 207 wildfires.
It's certainly not to say that the risk is gone. We need to kind of stay vigilant, but I don't live in fear of this stuff. I think we have to have a healthy respect of fire and a humble relationship to it.
Still ahead, it's the furthest Canada's men's cricket team has ever made it on the international stage. And we'll find out how it's inspiring a new crop of players here in BC. That's next. Welcome back. For the first time ever, Canada's men's cricket team will be competing at the International Cricket Council's T20 World Cup in June. It's the furthest the team has made it on the international level. And our Saurabh Sandhu caught up with a group of young cricket players in Surrey. They're hoping Canada's involvement in the tournament will help grow the sport here in BC.
Players from the Stallions Cricket Club in Surrey are getting ready for their match Sunday. It's a sport's 17-year-old Arnav Sekhri has been playing most of his life.
Professionally, I've been training for around 4 or 5 years since I was 11.
Sekhri and his teammates are looking forward to seeing Canada represented at next month's ICC Men's T20 World Cup.
It's really important that they have made the T20 World Cup because that means that it's going to start growing here and people are going to start getting recognition and we're going to start getting opportunities here as well.
Canada will be one of the 20 teams participating in the international tournament taking place in cities across the US and the Caribbean islands. Young athletes like Sekhri already have their eyes set on their favorite Canadian cricket player.
I'm really looking forward to see Pargat Singh playing.
The player I'm looking out for is Kaleem Sannah. He's the opening bowler for Canada and he's amazing.
Manath Handal says there are growing opportunities in BC to pursue the sport professionally.
It's not just a summertime sport. We can go there, pursue it in winter, and like actually practice and have hope making it a career even.
For these players, it's inspiring to see Canadian cricket players compete on an international stage.
I've been playing cricket in Canada for over 100 years, and I think it fell away a bit probably 30 years ago, but it's coming back in a big way.
Playing against Pakistan, India, that will how many millions people are going to watch them, and that will show the Canada's on the map of cricket in the international level.
5 of the selected players for this year's World Cup squad are from BC.
Back in that days, we used to have 1 player or 2 players competing in Cricket Canada. Now we are lucky that we got 7 or 8 players competing for Canadian team.
You drive on the streets in British Columbia, you see a cricket field almost everywhere. Cricket has changed so much, and I think it's way more competitive.
Canada will be facing off against teams from India, Pakistan, Ireland and the USA at 2024 World Cup. It all kicks off on June 1st when Canada takes on the US in the tournament opener in Dallas. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
At 6:22, you're looking at a live shot towards the North Shore, and the weather held out for the most part over this long weekend. We'll find out how the rest of the work week is shaping up with your 5-day forecast next. Let's bring in our Darius Madavi for a full look at the forecast. Darius, we had a pretty nice May-long weekend in May, and you can get anything from snow to sun. But how are we looking for the rest of the week?
Oh, well, we've got some changing conditions, but across the province, we're looking at probably a sunnier end to the week, but we've got a while until we get there. Some places we'll see some showers, but everybody gets some sun at least some point this week. You'll notice that we did get some showers already today in just the last few hours. In some parts of the province, mostly dry here on the coast. That's about to change, but in other places like parts of the southern interior, in the central interior especially, we were seeing some showers. Tomorrow, we might even have a risk of some thunderstorms in some places, especially in the northeast and the southeast, but here on the south coast and across Vancouver Island, we're actually starting to see that rain in some places. We're going to continue to see that come on shore overnight tonight. In the wee hours, it's going to make its way to Vancouver. Going to continue pretty much all day here in Vancouver and across the southern half of the island, but should end in the early afternoon for the North Island and the central parts of the island. That's going to continue into probably just after midnight here in Vancouver. And for the South Island and Vancouver, we're talking some pretty decent rainfall for some places like the North Shore, anywhere from 15 to 30 millimeters of rain from tonight into tomorrow, end of the day. And then that rain should start to taper off into Wednesday. Some showers maybe early in the morning for Victoria and Vancouver, but then clearing up for a nicer day on Wednesday. And then those clearer skies, mixed skies, continue into Thursday. In terms of temperatures, those are also going to stay or come down a little bit tomorrow and then stay high for the rest of the week, or by high, I mean seasonal. Pretty much across the province, we see that drop tomorrow and then that increase again afterwards. Tomorrow is a pretty wet day across BC, a little bit of sunshine in a few places still, and really just a very low chance of showers where we see these sunnier icons. But for the rest of us, either some solid rain or at least some showers. And for here in Vancouver, over the next 5 days, we do have a bit of a rainy one, and then some showers before the sun comes out, stays out for a day, and then we start to see the showers return as we head into the weekend, Tanya. So a bit of something for everyone.
Yeah, we'll have those sunglasses and the umbrella handy. Thanks, Darius. Well, nerves are running high at this very moment with Game 7 underway.
And some fans may be calling upon some higher powers for their team to win, because what are sports without pre-game superstitions?
Our Steve Zhang headed out to ask Canucks fans what they would do in the name of good luck.
So for yourself as a hockey fan, do you have any like superstitions, any pre-game rituals, anything like that?
No, I usually get a pizza before like a big game, or I'll just order a pizza, but that's about it. Yeah, I wear this musky old toque. Got it when we went to the Heritage Classic in 2012 or 2013, whichever one that was, and I wear it every game.
I like just to make signs and try to get a puck, but I didn't get a puck last game. The guy beside me got hit in the head with a puck right beside me, so I was like, yeah, he can have it.
So you don't have any superstitions yourself. A lot of players might, like the playoff beard is a thing. I see you got your beard going. I can't grow facial hair myself, but like, what are your thoughts on things like the playoff beard or like the lucky underwear that you can never wash and stuff like that?
Okay, yeah, you're taking me back to like minor hockey days. Like I never washed the jock. Never washed my equipment, period, to be honest. So that would probably be mine. Don't wash anything.
Yeah, I've never washed this jersey. So maybe that's my superstition.
How much of that is superstition versus just bad habits? I don't know. The game still scoreless in the first, 12 minutes left. Game predictions by the time Game 7's done.
Oh, only the Canucks are going to score. Easy this time.
Shutout.
Yeah, no problem.
So what, 3-0, 4-0?
At least.
At least.
Yeah. And with that being said, if you don't want to wash your jersey, that's fine, but just maybe wear it at home only.
Not in public. Okay, that is your news for this holiday Monday, May 20th. For news anytime, anywhere, download the free CBC News app.
You can always find us online at cbc.ca/BC. Thanks for being with us on this Victoria Day. Have a good night.
Good night.